Hello and welcome to S24 Rundown. I am Hadiza Galadima and here is our news in brief. To start with, the federal government has activated strict policy health surveillance and emergency response protocol across all international airports nationwide. The Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria and the Nigeria Civil Aviation Authority, acting in coordination with the Nigerian Center for Disease Control, announced the decision following an upsurge of Ebola virus disease cases in part of Central Africa. Under the new directives, port health services have intensified the screening of inbound passengers with a strict mandate to immediately isolate and subject anyone exhibiting symptoms such as sudden high fever, severe fatigue, or bleeding manifestations to secondary medical checks. While health authorities emphasize that no confirmed case of the virus has been recorded anywhere within Nigeria's borders, airlines and pilots are under mandatory instructions to report any suspected communicable illness on board before landing. FAAN has reinforced emergency response procedures and ramped up staff sensitization to ensure swift isolation maneuvers if necessary. Moving on, a coalition of prominent northern social political groups have issued a stern ultimatum to the federal government, demanding an immediate structural overhaul of the nation's security architecture to combat the rising tide of banditry and kidnapping. Meeting at an associated youth groups expressed deep frustration over what they described as the worsening vulnerability of communities across the northern region. The coalition argued that centralized policing has proven ineffective against localized terror, calling for constitutional amendment that would grant state the autonomy to establish fully operational state police commands and regional defense frameworks. The groups warned that the economic and social fabric of the North is rapidly deteriorating as farmers abandon their fields and schools face continuous threat of attack. While acknowledging ongoing military operations, the coalition insisted that a purely kinetic approach without systemic political restructuring will yield no lasting peace. They urged the National Assembly and the Presidency to prioritize a comprehensive legislative review that devolves security powers to the sub-national levels, threatening to mobilize widespread peaceful civil action against the region if their demands are not addressed with the urgency they deserve. Also, the National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, NDLEA, has shattered the operation of an international drug trafficking syndicate after successfully dismantling a sophisticated transnational Nigerian-Mexican methamphetamine production syndicate. Operatives from the agency's elite special operation unit pulled off a clinical industrial-scale clandestine laboratory hidden deep inside the Abidagba forest in the Ijebu East local government area of Ogun State. The high-stakes operation yielded a staggering haul of premium methamphetamine and precursor chemicals valued at an unprecedented 480 billion naira. Briefing journalists at the NDLEA headquarters in Abuja, Chairman Brigadier General Buba Marwa, retired, revealed that the highly organized ring was run jointly by a notorious local cartel and their Mexican counterparts, who provided technical expertise for the mass production of the lethal substance. 10 suspects were caught completely off guard and arrested during the forest raid, including the suspected cartel kingpin, 6 Nigerian collaborators, and 3 Mexican factory specialists. And in the political landscape in Kano State, it has been thrown into intense speculations following formal allegations by the state government pointing to a secret political alliance between the leader of the New Nigerian People's Party, Senator Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Spokesperson to the Kano State Governor Sanusi Bature Dawakin Tofa claims that backroom negotiations are actively on the way to forge a strategic realignment ahead of the 2027 general elections. The development follows Kwankwaso's recent resignation from his former National Party leadership and brief realignment, which critics argue are calculated chess moves to negotiate a soft landing and bridge ties between the ruling All Progressive Congress APC. In a swift reaction, loyalists to the Kwankwasian movement and opposition stakeholders have dismissed the allegations as an orchestrated attempt to cause disaffection among the massive political base in the state. They maintain that the former governor remains a pillar of opposition politics, pointing to recent massive grassroots rallies in Kano as proof of independent political dominance. And in the education sector, the Joint Admission and Matriculation Board, JAM, has officially approved the release of 279 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination results that were previously withheld under a cloud of suspected examination malpractice. Following a grueling, meticulous internal review and screening exercise by the board's Central Investigation Committee, clearing officials confirmed that these particular specific candidates were found free of any direct complicity in the biometric and technological infractions recorded during the yearly exams. Affected candidates are now being directed to instantly assess their updated performance metrics via the board's integrated online portal or by utilizing the single-string SMS short code. While this badge brings significant relief to hundreds of anxious families, JAM's management has firmly re-emphasized that its strict stance on systemic examination integrity remains uncompromised. And finally, on the global scene, Beijing has put a major diplomatic freeze on military communications, holding up a proposed high-level visit by the Pentagon's top policy official, Eldridge Colby. According to reports, Chinese officials have signaled that they will not approve the United States under They would not approve the United States under Secretary of Defense's planned summer visit to Beijing until Washington decides how to proceed with a controversial $14 billion weapons package earmarked for Taiwan. The package, which includes advanced Patriot interceptor missiles and surface-to-air defense systems, has drawn intense anger from the Chinese government, which views the deal as a direct violation of its territorial sovereignty. The diplomatic standoff places U.S. President Donald Trump in a complex geopolitical bind as he attempts to balance relations with Chinese President Xi Jinping ahead of an anticipated state visit to Washington later this year. While the Pentagon maintains that it is committed to keeping lines of military communications open to prevent accidental conflicts in the South China Sea, Beijing continues to use the travel blockage as leverage to force a delay or complete downgrade of the arms sales. Now moving on to business news with Shukra Oniye. Hello, Shukra.
Thank you, Khadija, and welcome to Business Update. I am Oniye Shukra, and here are the top stories making headlines in Nigeria, across Africa, and around the world. We begin here at home. The Central Bank of Nigeria has retained the country's benchmark rate at 26.5% as part of efforts to tackle inflation and stabilize the economy. While the Apex Bank says the decision is necessary to control rising prices, members of organized private sector argue that high interest rates could increase borrowing costs and place more pressure on manufacturers and small businesses. Still on the economy, Nigerian billionaire Femi Otedola is reportedly planning a $100 million investment in Dangote refinery. The investment is expected to come through equity linked to his former Geregu Power stake in what analysts describe as another major vote of confidence in Nigeria's industrial and energy sector. Meanwhile, Nigeria is also pushing for stronger trade integration across the continent. Minister of Industry, Trade and Investment, Jumoke Odowale, has described the African Continental Free Trade Area, also known as AFCFTA, as Africa's most powerful tool for boosting trade and investment. She also called the removal of implementation